Welcome to step 3 in my series of how to build a website. This is whether you're building one from scratch or revamping one that you already have, such as is the case for me. And I've linked to the earlier episodes in case you need to get caught up. They're in the description box, but essentially phase 1 is to create an entire outline for your website of all the text and what's going to go where and just kind of the structure, right? A literal Word document outline. Phase 2 is then to transfer that onto the website itself in a very rudimentary form. And so step 3 now becomes we're going to give the website actual visual flair, okay? Now, this step is going to be the longest thus far because we're really going to be implementing, and especially if you're going to go through this, you might run into instances where you don't know how to do something. And so that's going to require some back and forth Googling or whatever the case may be, but you can work through those, okay? Now, I should also mention, as has been evident throughout all this, I'm giving you the overall steps. This is not a WordPress tutorial or a Wix tutorial or Squarespace tutorial. This is a generalization of how these steps can be implemented regardless of those platforms. Maybe in the future I will give a specific example of how to build a WordPress website, but that's a different type of tutorial. So what we're going to look at is, so here is my web page that I made for my filmography, and this is what it looks like of just translating everything that I had in my Word document onto the website, right? And I left myself instructions in bold and things like that of, okay, what needs to go where. And our ultimate goal is to not have this look crappy as it looks right now. And in fact, we would want it to look more like this, right? So here's kind of what we're more shaping up towards as far as what we're going for. See, it's got sections, it's got dividers, things are much more neat. It's got the embed codes for YouTube trailers and stuff like that. It's got the links where it needs to go and things of that nature, right? So that's the ultimate goal. So how do we do this? Well, again, we start off with going to what we had created prior, and we're going to edit it. And, before, like with that step, I said, if you can make it look good in a very fast, easy way, go right ahead. Otherwise, that's what this step is for, is to then translate all this stuff to have that visual flair. So I'll just kind of kickstart it off in this way so you can see a little bit of the process. As I said, there's a trial and error to it all, right? So the first step that I'm going to need to do for myself is just to change up the settings of the page to make sure that that the page layout is full width. That's what I'm going for. I don't want it to be boxed in. And again, these are all preferences, so you can play around with it to get what you need, but I already know what I'm going for. So we'll add that. Then usually a lot of these websites now work in terms of containers, boxes, like they all have different words for them, but essentially think of them as grids and rows, and you place content within that. So I'm going to go ahead and create a container that I need, and I'm going to basically just put in the settings that I need in order for this to work the way that I would like it. And so now we've got our container, and the first thing that I'm working on is the header image, right? So basically getting this image to look like a header image with filmography in there so it looks neat, right? So we're gonna, style, background type, I'm gonna select classic. I'm going to choose an image that I had made. Now, part of this step is also to get in the elements that you're actually going to need in a uniform thing. So in step 2, I may have been putting in images and things like that that I knew I wanted to use, but the dimensions are not uniform, right? So for example, with my hero images across all the web pages, I want it to look the same, right? I don't want it to be different from page to page. And so what I had played around with and gotten to was that the best dimensions for my hero images were 1920 by 800. Now it could be different for you depending on your preference and the website itself and whatever else. But I've essentially gone through and within Photoshop conformed all those images to that. Also likewise, I have various posters for different projects, book covers, movies, things of that nature, and I conformed all of those to a size. So that is also part of this step, is just to make sure that you have essentially a template dimension for the assets that you need. Within this web page, right? So if we're looking at my filmography page of what we're trying to get to, I have images of my favorite Hollywood directors. And so we'll call them like headshots, right? And so there's dimensions for those, and I've deduced those, excuse me, are best if they're 150 by 150 pixels, right? So these are all things that are a part of this step, but I'm not necessarily going to walk you through that in terms of how to get there. It's just, you can use Canva, you can use Photoshop or Pixlr, other sort of imaging tools out there available to you to create the sizes that you need, the sizes that make sense for your website. But all that to say, I've created my hero image, so I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then boom, here we have the image. Now, as you can see, it's it's not exactly how I want it to be. And so we're gonna kind of change it up. So the position, we're gonna center, and we're gonna select fixed. And there we can start to see that we're getting somewhere, right? So we can start to see that we have our image. Now, as far as that, we can also add the heading in there, so I can click and drag that, right? So this is how easy some of this stuff can be, and then you can change the heading here. So for me, I want it to say filmography, right? And it's the main header, so that's what I'm going to make it as. And you can align it however you want to. You can change the different styles, in terms of the text color. You can change the font name itself to be something that you want. I'm just going to have fun with this. And, you kind of go through it to get to what you need, right? And you play around with it till you get to that thing. Now, as part of this step, what I would discourage you from doing is worrying too much about making sure that the function of it is 100%. Meaning, if you need to create hyperlinks, if if you add a button and things like that, like just go ahead and add the buttons for the visual flair. But as far as the functionality, that's actually going to be the next step of it. Okay. Now, part of the goal with this is to get it looking how you want it to look, right? So like in my case, something like this. Now, if you can do that all by yourself, great. I think there's a lot of benefit to doing it, yourself and things of that nature. Or if you can't do it all yourself, get it as far as you can and then hire a developer to get it over that finish line. You could, of course, hire a developer, right off the bat, once you've completed step 2 of, my method. But of course, that costs more money because it's more time for them to do, as opposed to just kind of doing fixes and something very specific. They're having to do a lot more work, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. That's why it's just my overall philosophy in creative stuff that I do is to take it as far as I can and then, hire somebody else out for that final stuff that I can't do myself. But that's essentially, what this phase of it is all about, to get it to look good. And as I said, it's going to be a lot of start and stops. Like, this is a big step. And Google will be one of your best friends. If you have friends that have made websites and you see something on their website and you're like, oh, how did you make that? Especially if you know that they're using the same platform that you're using, awesome. Also, YouTube tutorials. I always look up something like, hey, how do I create a hero image in WordPress using this theme with this plugin, right? Like, getting as specific as I can in order to get to that solution. And that allows me to create the web page, right, into what I want it to be. So this is what's encompassed in this step, right? It's the graphic images, the assets that you will need, conformed in the dimensions that you will need them, and then, actually applying that to the website with a lot of trial and error, with Googling, YouTubing, all that stuff. I know it can sound scary and things like that, but just take it piece by piece, page by page, and slowly but surely you'll get to a place where you get the result that you're looking for. And as I said, take it, if you can't, take it as far as you can. And if you're just seriously just banging your head against the wall, then move on to the next page and things like that, but keep a running list of everything that still needs to get done. And that's what a developer can help you with. And for those, you can look at UpWork, you can look at Fiverr. If you use WordPress specifically, there's Codeable.io, which is a wonderful resource. They do tend to be a little bit pricey because they're big experts and they take on bigger websites. So smaller jobs, might not be the best for you, but they certainly are experts, hence kind of the pricier cost. So yeah, that's kind of step 3 of the entire process. I'll do step 4. And as I said, this is not intended to be a full WordPress walkthrough or Wix walkthrough. That's not what this is. There's plenty of tutorials out there. I just wanted to give you the methodology to help you in this process of how to think big picture. As always, though, I encourage you to comment down below with any questions or thoughts of your own, suggestions, things of that nature. Would love to hear that feedback, see, what's working for you, what's not. And also, I think it just helps everyone, right? Other people that see this episode can also benefit from that as well. And we can all just help each other, right? That's the ultimate goal for me with all of this. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me, and I look forward to next time.